Hello, everybody. My name is Kate Chance. I'm the Faith Liaison for Montgomery County. We host town hall events, usually the first and the third Tuesday of every month at 7 p.m., trying to just connect the faith community and community at large to various resources. So we wanted to bring in one of our, I don't want to say favorites, but one beloved organization that we're so fortunate to have in Montgomery County, Community Reach, that really does a tremendous amount of work to work not only with the faith community, but to support the most vulnerable folks in Montgomery County. And so we have a couple speakers for you tonight. They're going to be speaking for 30 to 45 minutes and then answering questions. Please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. Let us know a bit about you, if you're affiliated with an organization or a house of worship, and any questions that you have for our speakers. We're also going to have time at the end for Q&A, but we encourage you to ask questions throughout the presentation. So I'm going to hand it off to our Executive Director, Agnes Saenz. I hope I pronounced her last name at least a little close to correct, but I'm going to hand it off to her to get us started. Thank you so much for being here. We're so glad to have you.
Thank you, Kate, for the invitation, and good evening to everybody. Thank you for taking time of your evening to learn more about Community Reach of Montgomery County and to have an interaction and a conversation. I welcome what Kate said. If you have questions during the presentation, please feel free to do that. And Kate, I guess you will help me to let me know if someone has a question so that to keep track of that. There will be three of us speaking on behalf of Community Reach. I want to share that. So I will be introducing the speaker after me, and the speaker after me will be introducing the other speaker, so that you know we come in a trio tonight, okay? But Community Reach of Montgomery County, many of you may have heard of our old name. We used to be Community Ministries of Rockville. And in 2019, we changed our name to Community Reach of Montgomery County. But I want to mention our old name, Community Ministries of Rockville, because certainly our history is a lot about working with the faith community. And I know most of you in the audience certainly come from the faith community. And although we changed our name, we continue to work with the faith community. We need you, we want you, and we appreciate all the support that the faith community brings to our services. But Community Ministries of Rockville then was founded 55 years ago. Today, Community Reach of Montgomery County. And I would say probably the first 14 years of the organization mainly had an advocacy role, speaking on behalf of those who couldn't speak by themselves. Certainly, two churches joined efforts and created at the time Community Ministries of Rockville. And today, Community Reach of Montgomery County is an organization that provides basic human services and health services. After the years of advocacy that were, as I said, pretty much the first 14, 15 years of the organization, the board of directors at that time saw the need to run direct service programs. And we started to create and open direct service programs. I would say the first 20 years after that, the organization was doing a lot of housing, shelter, homeless services. We continue to do that, not at the same extent that we did in our beginnings. And to fast forward many years of our history, throughout each decade, I would say in the 80s, in the 90s, in the 2000, 2010, etc., we have expanded our services based on community needs, whether that has been for seniors, for immigrants, housing, healthcare, emergency assistance, etc. So some of our programs that were created in the 80s, we still run them like senior services, emergency assistance, some of the programs that were created in the 90s, like our language outreach program, we continue to do that. Our housing shelter services, we continue to run 2 houses, but certainly the activity in housing has changed, but we are always adjusting our community needs to what the community is needing at the moment. So let me share about our 5 areas of services. We ran one program that is called Rockville Emergency Assistance Program. Rockville Emergency Assistance provides financial assistance with to avoid evictions for families or individuals who may be facing a financial crisis to pay the rent. We also support with utilities and prescription help. In addition to the financial assistance that we provide in REAP, which is the short name for Rockville Emergency Assistance Program, we do all kinds of referrals to food banks, clothing centers, dental and vision clinics, and the referrals are Montgomery County wide. We are the agency responsible for the Rockville zip codes because we are part of the Emergency Assistance Coalition, which is the county umbrella, if you will, for emergency assistance. But similar organizations like we do for Rockville zip codes exist for Gatesburg, Silver Spring, and other areas of Montgomery County. Okay. In addition to our Rockville Emergency Assistance Program, we have our Senior Reach program that provides home care services and home repairs to seniors so that they can age in place in their homes if they are able to do that. So we bring an aid to the homes of our seniors, and they help with chores of the house, with personal care, with the deliver food, and they can remain in their homes as they are able. In addition to Senior Reach services, we also run 2 houses that are permanent supportive housing programs, which mean residents can live there forever if they need to, but we certainly support moving them if they reach both financial and emotional stability. Our permanent supportive houses are called Jefferson House. It's a house for formerly homeless men who have faced an addiction or to drugs or alcohol, and they are now stable and recovering from that. And our house for women is called Rockland House, and is for formerly homeless women who need a place to live. We do have a housing programs director and case manager who provide case management and work with these residents on any issues or life plans that they have, where they are employment, school, healthcare, volunteering, you name it. And if they reach stability to move to their own place, we support them, we help them to get furniture or whatever they may need with the move. In addition, do I have any questions? No. In addition to our housing programs, we have our language outreach program. It's a program that teaches English as a second language to immigrant families. And in addition to the adults who come to learn English, we have a child tutoring component, and the children of students when they come to classes with us, they do the homework that they have from a school with our tutors. It is a great help for the parents. Many of our parents know that 2 + 2 is 4, but they may not know how to say 2 + 2 = 4 in English. So it's very helpful, the child tutoring component for our English as a second language students. In our language outreach program, in addition to teaching English as a second language, and I probably should pop up a question here. How many years do you think you need to study English to become fluent in the English language? Does anyone want to answer that question? You give up? You don't want to guess?
I'm gonna guess 3.
3, okay. Any other guesses?
5?
10.
Well, we are, let's pick something in the middle. It's 7 years. 7 years is considered the time that you need to become fluent in both languages, in 2 languages. And there are many definitions, if you will, about what means to be fluent. Is it fluent when you dream in a second language? Is it fluent when you understand jokes in a second language? Those are signs of fluency. And of course, each language has different components, listening, speaking, writing, etc. So, and we do all of that in our language outreach program. We teach the writing piece, the listening piece, the reading piece, etc. But in addition to English as a second language, we have a naturalization program, and we help individuals who want to become US citizens. We teach the citizenship class, and we also help with the application, which is a 10-page application, if I recall, when I became a US citizen myself. By the way, I am a graduate of the first language outreach program class for citizenship back in 1999. But it's a wonderful service also that we offer to help people become a US citizen, and we walk them through the process of applying for naturalization and preparing them to answer the citizenship exam, which now it includes both a history civic exam and an English exam. I'm sorry, did I hear a question? No? Okay, thank you. Okay. In addition to our language outreach program, we have the Casement Health Clinic, which is a subsidiary of Community Reach, and we provide medical care for the medically underserved. That includes uninsured patients, Medicaid patients, and recently we became a Medicare provider. We also see Medicare. Although 90% of our patients are uninsured, we also refer them to specialty care. And during the pandemic, we expanded services to telehealth, vaccination, and testing. If you know anybody who needs testing or vaccination, we do testing and vaccination every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. from Rockville United Church. And before I pass the baton to Nancy, in addition to our regular services and programs, during the holiday season, we do holiday giving. We are part of the Holiday Giving Coalition, and we distribute food baskets and toys to over 500 families. And I would say that's a wonderful project where the faith community is very involved. We get donations of toys and food baskets from the faith community. Our board of directors has 4 standing committees, and one of them is the Faith Advisory Committee. There is our way to continue to be in connection with our faith community, even though we don't have our own name, Community Ministries or Rockville. But as I said earlier, we certainly need you and want you to remain connected with us. So it is my pleasure to introduce Nancy Sushinsky, who is the chair of our Faith Advisory Committee, who will share with us more things about how we work with the faith community. Nancy, I think you are muted.
Great way to start. Try again. Thanks, Agnes, and hello, everyone. I'm really excited to be able to share with you about the Faith Advisory Committee, because it is a group that I feel very privileged to chair. It's just an amazing group of people representing an amazing group of congregations that constantly inspire all of us to do more. The other reason is because, as Agnes gave you some of the history, we were really started by two faith organizations, two churches, who decided to band together to form a community ministry because they wanted to do social activism, and they did. Over the next several years, I won't give you more history. Agnes already gave you some. You can definitely, if you want to know all the ins and outs, look it up on our website. It's really a great story. But over the years, other faith traditions also joined, and they did advocacy for social justice issues, as Agnes again mentioned. So they were active, very active in advocating for things like civil rights, for advocating for things like fair housing policies, fair employment policies, healthcare for the uninsured and the underinsured, and starting a human rights commission. So what is exciting to me about the Faith Advisory Committee is that this kind of takes us back to our roots, because today we're like the present day version of that group, and we want to continue to do that advocacy. The Faith Advisory Commission tries to do this by inviting all the faith communities around to join with us, to support each other, to share ideas, to share plans, to advocate for things that we feel are needed from a social justice perspective, and to really help each other when we see something that's kind of bigger than any one group can do. So it is really a pleasure to work with these people. The Faith Advisory Committee meets once a month. Right now we're meeting on Zoom. We used to meet in person, and we hopefully will get back to that one day soon. But in the meantime, we have a very good community on Zoom, and we have found that we really can do things together. In preparing, well, one of the things is we're continuing the social justice issues because unfortunately, we help each other to recognize and address the inequities that unfortunately still remain. Some of the same things that people were working on 50 years ago, but they still exist. So when I mentioned that we were going to do this town hall at the last meeting, I threw out a little question to everybody and asked everybody to get back to me, to send me something a little bit about what social justice issues they're working on right now. And I have to tell you, it was mind-blowing to look at this. I shouldn't have been surprised because I see these people every month and I know the awesome things they're doing. But when you actually get a list of things and you look at it, it can be overwhelming. So I would love to be able to read to you all of the responses I got back, but then we'd be here forever, which none of us needs to do. So what I've done is I've taken the groups and I've just sort of taken the highlights from each group. And I'd love to be able to just tell you outright, but for this, I'm going to have to look at the papers that they sent because otherwise I know I'll forget something. But I'm very anxious to share these stories with you. And again, please, if you have questions, ask. If you have comments, ask. And if you belong to one of these groups, let us applaud you. I know some of you do, because I can see you there. These are not in any specific order, but we're starting with Rockville United Methodist. Rockville United Methodist supports Rockville Help, prepares dinners for Dorothy Day Place, hosts and helps to support Jefferson House, made welcome baskets for Senior Reach. You'll hear this from several of the groups. This was something we really got excited about earlier this year. As Agnes told you about the Senior Reach program, when a group of these seniors were told they were going to have to move unexpectedly, and not quite what they had in mind, but it was a necessary move because their building needed to be renovated. It can be kind of traumatic always to move, but especially when you're older and you think you're in your final place that you're going to stay in for the rest of your life. And so our group got together and tried to figure out what we could do to support the people and make it a little bit easier. And it was decided that the different congregations would make little welcome baskets to give to people in their new place when they arrived. Just little things that they might need to get started. So you'll hear more about the welcome baskets from other communities too. But that was one thing Rockville United did. And again, Agnes has already told about holiday giving. Rockville United always participates. Rockville United Methodist always participates in holiday giving. In addition, they provide food, gift cards, and lunch bags to locals in need in the area. The next group I'd like to tell you about is the Rockville Baha'i community. The Rockville Baha'i community, one of Reach's earliest supporters, is part of the worldwide web of Baha'i communities, which seeks to bring about unity and diversity and love of humanity in the world. To help the greater community, it has supported Reach financially and with volunteers since the 80s in many capacities, including working with us on the Faith Advisory Committee and serving on the Reach board. Right now, they are helping several Afghan families who are just getting settled in Rockville to get started, which we all know is a big task right now and a very necessary one with all of the refugee crises. Then we go to Temple Beth Ami. Temple Beth Ami has two groups dedicated to community service. The Tikkun Olam Committee is focused on direct service, and the Community of Action focuses on civic engagement and advocacy. The Community of Action works extensively on behalf of the South Lake Elementary School, and also with election programming about county and state elections, as well as voter registration. And I'm going to leave that for Debbie to explain because she's the one who is the authority on this. She is also Temple Beth Ami's representative on Faith Advisory. In addition, they volunteer with food insecurity, supporting children who receive Montgomery County child support services, support for homeless shelters, holiday programs by Community Reach, and supporting refugee resettlement. All of these are areas in which this community volunteers. The Tikkun Olam Committee also organizes extensive collection drives every month of the year for different groups. Moving on to Christ Episcopal Church. Christ Episcopal hosts a weekly English conversation class which I was thinking of when you were talking, Agnes, about the difficulty of learning English, because this is for people who they may have done LOP or another program, but this will help non-native speakers improve their command of the English language. And from what Agnes has told us, it sounds like it would be a very big asset to people who are trying to really become fluent. In addition, volunteers from Christ Episcopal serve lunch at Loaves and Fishes. They have drives for food for Manna and drives for cleaning supplies for the Casement Clinic. They provide meals to Interfaith Women's Shelter and have volunteered to sort clothing at the Interfaith Clothing Store. Members volunteer for food and hygiene drives and canal and riverside cleanups. They are currently partnering with Rockville Resettlement to help settle an African family. This has been one of our big conversations recently in the group. Moving on to Mount Calvary Baptist. Mount Calvary is involved with community reach and the Montgomery County community in many ways. They sponsor a national night out, a weekly food giveaway. They support women and children, especially with their Helping Hands shelter, which has helped many people get started. They do care packages for the families moving out of family shelters, have clothing and diaper drives. Again, they participate in holiday giving. They have a prison ministry and support for inmates' families for holidays, among other things. The next group is Rockville Presbyterian Church, which I understand just celebrated their 250th anniversary.
Wow.
Their mission projects include supporting Reach, Interfaith Works, and Rainbow Place Shelter. They're actually the ones who started Rainbow Place Shelter back in '82 when the Rockville area was seeing more and more people experiencing homelessness. And at the time, there was no shelter for women in Rockville. For quite a while, the RPC totally ran the shelter by volunteers. Now it is its own nonprofit, but still gets a lot of support from Rockville Presbyterian. They also work with us on our holiday basket drive, and they're in the process of adopting an African refugee family. And one of the rumors is that they may be supporting the family that Christ Episcopal obtained the house for. So this is a good example of how our groups will work together and how it really benefits everyone. The next person, or the next group rather, is Baha'i Israel Synagogue. In addition to the ongoing food collection from Anna, they have held specialized collections for some, for So What Else, for the DC Diaper Bank, and for Leveling the Playing Field. They partner with the Weller Road Elementary School to fulfill holiday wishes for some students and their families who need that support. They have committed to a monthly meal for residents of Interfaith Women's Shelter. And they work with Jewish social services to deliver holiday items to seniors in Rockville. They also deliver Meals on Wheels every Friday. Through their immigration and refugee committees, they have been able to settle and support 2 Afghan families with housing, house setup assistance, personal visits, and other needs. Rockville United Church. This again takes us back to our beginnings because this was the merger of the 2 initial churches. Rockville United is always supporting us. Right now, they are housing our clinic. You probably are all aware of the fact that the clinic was flooded on Christmas and has been unable to open there since then. The loss of Casement would be huge for the poorer members of our community. And thankfully, Rockville United Church invited us to put what we could there in the interim to support the people. So that is a huge thing for Rockville Reach and for the community. They also provide a monthly meal to each of Reach houses. They support Living Faith Food Pantry, both monetarily and also voluntarily. They offer their site for other activities like our Thanksgiving basket giveaway. Members of their community serve on the boards of both Community Reach and the Casement Clinic. And one member is a volunteer provider at the clinic. Next, St. Elizabeth's Catholic Church. St. Elizabeth supports a Haitian mission. They provide a local bereavement group. Again, they make and donate baskets for our holiday giving program. People like to get involved with us. They support and volunteer at St. Camilla's Food Pantry, and they have a regular collection for the area nonprofits. They participate with Community Reach. Oh, excuse me, I'm going to the next group. This was actually a very interesting email that I want to share with you. It came from someone hiking in the Shenandoahs who is on vacation and sent this in response to my request, saying that that Bradley Hills Presbyterian Church, which is one of our big supporters, that their participation with Community Reach is the way we reach the goals outlined in our mission statement. That was his email. And then, because I wouldn't know it, he included the mission statement. Bradley Hills Presbyterian Church mission statement reads, to reflect God's gracious love by following Christ's example to welcome, nurture, heal, and serve. And the groups that I have just given you a little window into definitely welcome, nurture, heal, and serve others in the community. Again, I'm just thrilled to know all of these congregations and in all that they do. One of the other things that we have discussed is the whole voting issue. As a nonprofit, we can't endorse anybody, but we very definitely want people to have an education about voting. And this is where we turn to one of our faith affiliate members, faith advisory members. I don't know why I keep saying faith affiliate, but it would fit. But I will turn this over now to Debra Jacobs, who is the authority on this, who has done a lot with this. And we're very happy to partner with them, with Temple of Beth Ami, to get the word out on voting for social justice. Not any particular person, but for the right causes. So Debbie, you're on.
I don't see Debbie on a screen anymore.
I wonder,
I
I saw her before.
I did. I don't know if she's having technical difficulties. I'm happy to cover for her if needed, but I don't know if she's trying to reconnect.
Yeah, I hope so. Or maybe if anybody has questions about anything, we could do that while we're waiting.
Sure.
Kate, you're in charge. I don't mean to be taking it.
No, you all are in charge. This is your forum. I guess, well, I have a question that I've been thinking about. So, and I would encourage others to raise your hand or ask questions in the chat too. Oh, wait, Deborah is rejoining now.
Okay.
So how about, I'll hold on to my question.
It says Debbie entered the waiting room.
Yes,
Okay,
I
now,
let her in.
now she's back with the room, with everybody.
Debbie, are you there? Kate, do you want to ask your question while we're waiting for her to click on?
Sure. All right. Just so you know, Deborah, they've passed the mic to you, but I'm going to ask a question in the meantime while you get settled. So I'm hearing a lot about the undocumented folks that are being sent from Texas to DC. I'm not sure if you all have been following those news stories, but I just wanted to know if that's something that any of your houses of worship have been involved with, or if you've maybe gotten incoming about that.
Okay, as far as I know, no one has mentioned this. And of course, that often happens in the area of undocumented people because people don't want information spread about their situation,
Right.
just because of being in fear. The groups that I know in this group would very definitely be willing to work to support undocumented immigrants. One of the things that was discussed, probably started several years ago, but when, and we were very thankful that Montgomery County did not let this happen. But I think everybody knew that some of the people we served would wind up going to court for some nothing incident, like maybe having a tail light out or something they weren't even aware of. And members of ICE and other groups were waiting for them as they left. And I know at that time, a lot of people, and again, I'm not mentioning any names or groups, but everybody decided that, you know, they would let people know that this was a possibility. And Montgomery County did not allow people to be deported from the courtrooms.
Mm-hmm. And that's similar to what we're seeing now, because, you know, the governor of Texas said that he would be busing people to the DMV, and we all know how welcoming and affirming Montgomery County is. So a lot of these buses are coming into this area. So I will say, just anybody on the call, if this is an issue that you would like to be involved with and supporting, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll put my email in the chat. But the main issues right now are temporary stay, immediate temporary stay for folks that are getting here, and hygiene products. But I'm just, you know, here to connect, I guess, on this issue. So I'm not leading any issue or anything related to this at the county level, but I am trying to connect folks. I know that Debbie came back on. I'm sorry, Debbie, that you're having so many technology issues. That's so frustrating. But I know that we may not believe in Mercury in retrograde as a group, but I'm going to blame Mercury being in retrograde.
Can you hear us, Debbie? Can you talk? Connecting to audio responded.
So she says she can now see chat only. She's on her phone at the moment, and I think she's trying to get on, but I can give you a little bit of information. I'm Andrea with Community Reach of Montgomery County, and I can give you a little bit of information about what she was going to share if you'd like me to, until she gets on. Oh, Deb, can you get on yet? I see you're muted at the moment. Okay, well, I will talk and then let her interrupt me if and when she can. Temple Beth Ami is a congregation that has a very strong social justice issues in particular, and Debbie works with the Social Justice Committee. And one of the things that they are doing throughout this year and had done 2 years ago as well, 4 years ago as well, is providing voter information, as Nancy discussed a little bit. So they actually have a full program this year with voter information. And I took one of their webinars or workshops where they talked a lot about, they worked with a Jewish organization that had put together a program, but it was really talking about not only who was running for different offices in the state of Maryland and the federal government and the county, I think they went to the county, but also what those positions did. So they talked about what the jobs of the Attorney General was and what the job of the comptroller was, and things like we might not know about. What they did 4 years ago, also what Temple Beth Ami did specifically, was that they had set up an opportunity for the community to hear from, I think she's coming back, to hear from the county executive candidates, and also, are you there?
We can see you, Deborah. We can't hear you yet.
Okay, now you're muted. Okay, I'm going to keep talking and hopefully Deb will be able to jump in and tell me what I got wrong. But they're meeting. Are you there?
No.
Okay. So they are.
Yeah, just keep talking.
Okay. It is on June 12th, which is a Sunday in just a couple of weeks. Let me make sure I have this date correct. I do. Starting at 10 a.m. They're doing, do I have that right? 10 a.m. is the first part, right? So state delegates for districts, Maryland districts of 15, 16, 17, and 39 will have the opportunity to be questioned. So it will be a panel questioning for all of the state delegates. And I think that goes to about 11:15 or 11:30. And then they will give you a little bit of time to switch. And then they have one big room, which will have the county executive candidates debating. So those are the two pieces. It's on June 12th. I will try to find the link and put it in here for you, which I'm sure I can do. And what else? So that's what they're doing right now. And we are a partner in that, along with some other organizations. So REACH likes to partner in those ways. Other things that Temple Beth Ami has done to support REACH in many ways. So it's a symbiotic relationship. That's what I think is so important, is that there are times where Temple Beth Ami or another congregation is the lead, and we are the follower to some extent. And then there are times when REACH is the lead and the congregations are the follower. So for example, one of the organizations that Nancy was talking about, one of our faith advisory group people, is Mount Calvary Baptist Church. And they have been doing since the middle of actually early in the pandemic, I think August of 2020, they've been doing food distribution every Thursday evening. So we have made sure to get that word out to both our clients and to our supporters to make sure that that information was shared. We were able, therefore, to let some of our other faith organizations know about it, and some of them contributed food for that drive. And I apologize, I'm a little spacey today. They also, the same thing with another organization, Living Faith, which is a congregation that's helped us a lot. They also do a food pantry, and by talking about the food pantry that they did and by working with us, we were able to connect them to other faith groups like Rockville United Church, who then started donating to them. So really our faith committee, faith advisory committee, the job is to amplify the voices of the congregations, to work together on items that are of interest to all of the organizations and connect with REACH, and to help them be able to find a way to connect with their mission to help the community. And I'm going to stop there, but I will find, while Deb is on, the link to put in the chat with the information about the program that Temple Beth Ami is holding on June 12th.
Deborah, my advice is sometimes the audio works better when your camera is off. I don't know why, but sometimes that works a little bit better.
She can hear. Debbie just wrote in the chat that she has a flyer that she can share.
Kate, did she send that to you? Are you able to upload it?
Yes, let me see if I can upload that.
And if not, I can share the screen. We're working on it, Deb.
Let's try this. Maybe if we have any questions in the meantime, if anybody has, something they would like to send to the chat or to raise their hand and ask a question. And let me know if that link did not go through. I think I got it to work. Jan?
Yeah, I have a question. I was on what was the Community Ministries of Rockville board for many years, and I was only recently elected as the Rockville United Church representative to the Faith Advisory Committee. But when it seemed like most of the faith communities that Nancy mentioned are ones that I was familiar with from years ago that supported Community Ministries of Rockville. And since the title has changed to Montgomery County, I just wondered if that was an opportunity to expand to faith communities throughout the county. It seemed like most of the places that you mentioned were very Rockville centered, though. Do you have any comments on that, or?
Absolutely. And this is something we've been working on. And to be honest, I had hoped that maybe there'd be a lot of faith communities on this call who would be dying to join us. We are very, very open to expanding. If any of you belongs to a faith community that would like to join us, just let us know if you know of any place. And one thing that we've been talking about in the group is like people might know another community in their tradition nearby that has not been reached. I was just talking to a neighbor who is in a group that we do not have, and she's going to talk to her pastor about it. So you're right on. This is something we really desire and hope to do. And if anybody has some good ways to do it, please let us know.
We welcome as many groups possible in our Faith Advisory Committee. Sure.
Absolutely. And Kate, thank you for that information that you shared, because this is definitely something that just fits right in with what we do.
Absolutely. I'm getting a lot of folks who are reaching out asking about the Ukrainian newcomers. And I'm not hearing a whole lot. Some folks have come into the county, a couple of families are here, but the main pressing issue right now seems to be those coming from the border at Texas, and of course our Afghan newcomers that Started coming in August and have had a tough time getting settled.
Yeah. Do you know, for whenever we have people who are experiencing homelessness but aren't Montgomery County residents, they can go to the crisis center and get help from the crisis center, emergency services, to get a bus ticket to, where they are from if they cannot find something here. And so I know one of the things they've been saying about the people being bused is that some of the people who volunteered to go on the buses from Texas would get closer to family that might already be here. Do you know if emergency services or anybody is helping them get to relatives in another state or another place?
From what I understand, the county is doing some things at the county level, providing some resources and some temporary housing, but it's not enough. And there are folks that are working on family reunification and are taking that very seriously. And so it seems that people aren't staying in Montgomery County typically for very long. They're typically staying for a couple nights and then they're on their way to being unified with their family. I think
That's good.
yeah, I believe we've had over 1,000 people in the area already. Right now, we certainly don't have that many in temporary housing at the county level. So I think that's what they're encouraging folks to do, is to, try to get them to the next place for them.
So Reverend Charlene put a message about groups meeting them and at the buses and doing triage work.
Yes.
Could you share more information, Reverend?
She may not be on camera today, but we would definitely appreciate more information in the chat, Reverend. And I'm happy to connect folks to organizers. I'm being a little cautious of pushing something like this out because it's very political, as I'm sure we all know. And they've already gone through such a challenging time already. And I would hate for something to happen to the newcomers, or
Right.
there are ways to support them, especially if people can provide housing. Right now, the only housing situations that I've heard about are in Tacoma Park. There's a house of worship, and then there's a temporary shelter in Rockville. But there's a desperate need for more temporary shelter. That's a huge ask for a faith community. But right now, people are sleeping on office floors and just wherever they can find space for folks.
One of the things that I know our congregations were talking about a little bit, and Reverend Charlene is putting more information in chat. She's having a problem with her mic, is the idea of having a number of congregations band together to be able to support a family or families, because they can't necessarily do the heavy lift on their own. So that there may be a combination that way. Also, please remember that for reach, of course, which is what I push as much as possible, is that we have our language outreach program so that when families are settled, they can take English for speakers of other languages through us. And we are currently still doing our classes online. And even when we go back to offering in person, we will continue to have online classes as well. I know that one of the issues is that a lot of times families are housed in Prince George's County simply because there's more affordable housing there currently. So getting people here can be sometimes difficult, but actually Montgomery County, I think, generally has more, at least certainly has had in the past, a lot more safety net services through nonprofit organizations. And then also our Casement Health Clinic serves uninsured residents and also residents with Medicare and Medicaid. So if they're living in Montgomery County and they're uninsured because they just got here or because they just don't have insurance, Casement Health Clinic provides primary care and also specialty services.
It's a wonderful county, and that's definitely why we're seeing so many folks that are being bused to the DMV area come to Montgomery County.
The other thing, Kate, that we've mentioned, I couldn't talk about all the things that people have come up with, but some of the congregations that did not feel they could do that heavy lift of totally sponsoring a family have taken up collections of either money or items for groups like NNIA, New Neighbors Interfaith Alliance, which is working again very hard to settle people who are here.
They're doing a
And
great job too.
Yes, they are. And we all like the idea that they were calling it New Neighbors. It just took away the stigma of all the things that come along with, you know, the people who are not from here kind of thing. New Neighbors was a good way to use for a name.
In case anybody's not reading the chat, Debbie suggested that if there are any congregations in District 39 that would be interested in partnering with them for the June 12th event or future events, please let her know. Her email is debrajacobs@comcast.net. It's DebraJacobs@comcast.net. I know that we're basically running out of time, but I wanted to quickly ask the people who are not familiar with REACH if there are areas that their congregation is working in that they would like to talk to us about partnering in. Maybe, Nancy, would you put your email address in the
Sure.
chat so that if anybody's interested in learning more about the Faith Advisory Committee or
Sure.
learning about how they could work with us, maybe they could reach out to you?
Sure.
And Agnes, maybe would you do that as well?
Sure. And I wanted to add, regardless of where the refugee or the immigrant come, we have certainly a diversity statement. We embrace our neighbor, our immigrant, regardless of documentation or any origin where they come from. And in the past, we have served refugees at the Casement Clinic with healthcare, also through our Rockville Emergency Assistance Program for food referrals or clothing center referrals. I know there are a bunch of food places where you can get food today in Montgomery County, but certainly those are ways how we can help. And yes, I will add, I will write my email in the chat right now.
All right, last call for questions or areas of focus. Yeah, and Reverend Charlene mentioned transportation for arrivals is a huge challenge. And that's a stressful thing also for nonprofits to get involved with because of the liability of driving people. But that's a way that the faith community is really stepping up and providing those rides. They also were incredible, especially in the beginning with the Afghan newcomers, of driving people to doctor's appointments and places like the Casement Health Clinic to try to get access to resources that they did not have. Last call.
Kate, one thing that you mentioned, people needing hygiene products.
Yes.
That's usually a very easy collection to take up.
Absolutely.
Where would people take them if we could set up a collection for that?
I was just sent the ask today, so I do not have the full details. What I'm hearing though, the main need that people want are socks. People are in desperate need of a new pair of socks. And so that's one of their biggest or most requested items. But I should have more information on that soon. I'm happy to connect with anybody who wants to get involved with that. And I'll connect you directly to the organizers. But I think that's one wonderful way that the faith community can be involved. But if we have anybody we can push for space for people to stay, I think that would be such a tremendous help for our newcomers.
Definitely. Definitely. Yes, please, when you can, connect me with the place to take donations.
Mm-hmm. The question was, what kind of space you usually look for? And right now they're sleeping on office floors, they're sleeping on church pews. I think they're really looking for anywhere, any form of shelter, anything that could operate as a homeless shelter immediately. is what they're willing to accept because they want to make sure people are housed. So I don't think they're too picky.
Yeah, Reverend Charlene said large families have no place to rent in this county that is affordable, and it's a big issue for the Afghans. I know one thing that we have talked about, which is a little difficult with, a group of congregations, but the idea of, maybe 2 or 3 congregations together could afford to house a family, pay the rent for a year or 6 months or something like that, and at the same time also help them find the other services they need. And Reverend Charlene also says temporary housing can be a room in your house.
With the Afghan newcomers, yeah, we're seeing most folks are going to Prince George's County because it's easier to find housing for larger families. And some people are financially sponsoring newcomers for a couple months in their housing. And we have an Afghan working or resettlement working group that meets about once a month to talk about some of these issues, but that's definitely a way that if people want to be connected to finding ways to financially sponsor folks, I'm happy to help. And I just saw a question about the timeline for the temporary housing, how long we'll need to stay. Your questions are great questions. They're not ignorant at all. This is a new situation. Having people come in by the busload from Texas is not something that we've really dealt with before. So we don't actually know. We don't know how long the buses will be coming. I do know that they're hoping for people to stay a maximum of 3 nights before getting them on their way to their next location. But I'm happy to connect you with the folks that are running the operation so they can better answer your questions.
So it sounds like they're looking for very temporary and also something longer term so they can get settled and get work and come up with funds so that they can be more independent. Is that correct?
Right. And the main experience is that folks are trying to go to places like New York or the Carolinas where they have family and connections. So they're not staying very long. And there is a financial, I'm sure they won't turn down financial help trying to get to the places that they need to go and getting more resources.
Hi, I thought I'll just quickly turn on my camera and say hi. I try to sneak away from my kids because I think when I logged in, it was just so loud with them. But yeah, I'm kind of new to this. I wasn't sure if my questions were sounding really silly, but I'm surprised by all this, honestly. So any information that you can pass on, I'll try to stay connected with you. Kate, I guess, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I already sent you an email, so hopefully you have that.
Yes, I did get it. Thank you.
Is it Falak? Is that how you say?
It's Falak, like good luck, bad luck.
Falak?
Yeah.
So are you part of a congregation or you're just here for your own interest or?
My own interest, I kind of work as an individual at the moment. I run an organization called Muslims Against Hunger. But I have connections with other congregations, so.
Please connect with Nancy because although
Yes.
The Faith Advisory Committee is primarily with congregations, it doesn't mean that, we wouldn't welcome you to that group.
We would welcome you.
That was the other big question I had, because I was like not sure if can individuals join in or no.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
Just send me an email and I'll put you on the list.
I will do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And tell me again the name of your organization.
Muslims Against Hunger.
We would really like to have you.
Thank you so much. It was great seeing all of you.
All right, any comments or questions for our guests that we had tonight?
Kate, did you freeze?
Oh, did I? Uh-oh.
I want to take this opportunity to thank all of you